get yourself familiar with the retail and e-commerce industry.
Thank you,
And
Tweet, for your time today. Really, really appreciate it. Would you please tell me a little bit about yourself?
yeah, thank you for having me today, Young. My name is Thuy Thai, and I'm currently working at Amazon. It's been 2.5 years since I started at Amazon. Felt like it was yesterday. I started as an account manager role, and then within less than 2 years, I got promoted to the senior account manager. And then recently, I got promoted to the lead account manager with a
Mm,
couple of dotted line direct reports. And my team is the strategic account services team, which I can talk more a little bit about my role later.
yeah.
But in a nutshell, I would say a little bit about myself too is I moved to the US when I was 18 years old as an international student. I finished high school in Vietnam and I moved here, live in different couple states, including Hawaii, California, and then ended up in Washington here for grad school. So it's been a long journey of being international student and finally end up working for Amazon for the last 3 years.
Yeah, no, that's super great. And you've lived in the best states in the US. So not missing out. And congrats on the promotions as well.
Thank you.
Um, so what was your first reaction when you got the job offer from Amazon?
It felt surreal. And I like to kind of elaborate on that. I think um, for those of you who might not be familiar with, international student, we have somewhat limited opportunity depending on the major that you study in your college or your grad school. And so, um, finding a job is, I would say, extra challenging when you're an international student, especially when you're in a non-tech industry. And so, I got reached out by a recruiter from Amazon during my last quarter at grad school.
Mm.
Went through, the typical Amazon interview loop and finally getting the offer, which, I didn't think it would happen. And so, yeah, I never announced anything until actually the first day after I finished the first week of working, just making sure all the immigration paperwork go through. Because yeah, it can be tricky.
Yeah, yeah, no, makes total sense. I remember my first week as well. It's been, yeah, it's definitely something to remember.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something about recruiter reaching out to you when you were in your last quarter at your grad school. Can you tell me a little bit about the process of getting into the company? Like, so reach out, and then like
Mhm.
how was the interview process, and like what was the questions that you got, and then
Yeah.
like how long did it actually take to join, finish the actual interview and then kind of get the offer?
Yeah. Gladly. Um, yeah, so the recruiter will reach out to you via email, telling you a little bit about the role, and briefly on the process. So for this particular role of account manager, they actually sent you a online assessment that you can take within a window. And then it mostly behavioral questions, just kind of want to get a sense of where you stand, your business acumen, and then once you submit that result, they'll get back to you within, I would say, less than a week to schedule a phone screen. I'll prep for the phone screen almost like as if it's an on-site, making
Mm.
sure that I'm fully ready. And then after the phone screen, maybe another week and a half, then you hear back from the recruiter trying to schedule an on-site. So they'll give you different options on what day works best for you. I chose the day that most photos, so I had more time to prepare. And this was before COVID, so you actually go in the office and have a
Got
full
it.
day interviews. So I want to make sure that I'm fully ready. And so I had the on-site interview with 4 interviewers in total. It lasts, I would say, from 9 a.m. all the way to you have some lunch break, but it'll end around 2 p.m. And then I heard back from the recruiter within another 10 days.
Oh,
It
okay.
was a phone call, and I never forget. The
Yeah.
recruiter called me at in the evening actually, because I think he works in a different timeline. But he congratulated me, letting me know that I was offered the position and that to look out for a written offer in my email the following day.
Got it. Yeah. What about the interview questions? What is just like
Mhm.
the typical Amazon behavior questions with leadership
Yeah,
principles?
definitely leadership principles, is what Amazonian breathe by. And I
Yep.
think just knowing that, understanding the culture of Amazon. And for me personally, I prep a lot of questions for my specific org, which is retail. Would I have a little bit background in retail and understanding like e-commerce and all that. So
Mm,
the questions would be definitely leadership principle driven, but at the same time wanting to understand how I would handle certain situation. For example, I was being asked, how would you handle
yeah.
a situation when your vendor wanted to run a deal, but they looking for advice from you on what to run. And so just kind of walk the interviewer through my thought process, and then other standard behavior question like how do you handle conflict with your stakeholders, how do you meet a deadline, how do you deal
Sure.
with situation when you know nothing about, how do you handle data, right? Because Amazon is such a data driven company that is
Hmm.
important for all the roles, including my team, to know when to look for data, but at the same time balancing that bias for action and not
Yeah.
sitting on data for too long.
For sure. Yeah. Kind of going back to what you do. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do at Amazon?
As a senior account manager, I spend a lot of my time doing that. And I would describe it as a business owner is the role where it is up to the account manager, up to me to define success depending on the customer's need. And in this case, my customers are my selling partners, the brand that are selling on Amazon.com, as well as the end customer who are shopping on
Mm,
Amazon. A day to day for my role isn't the same because of the unique projects and the priorities of our selling partners. In general, I wear many different hats every day. But if I have to like recap the three like key features, responsibilities in my role, that would be one is doing stakeholder management, working with so many different teams at Amazon. I mean, I work with Young for a period of time, and that's
yeah.
how we know each other. Second is performing data analytics for both internal and external purposes. So knowing, like identifying the trend, making recommendations, making decision based on data. And lastly is just having that strategic vision because you're advocating for your selling partner at Amazon. So you got to understand not only the tactical stuff, but
Yeah.
also kind of like
High
where
level.
where can I lead this vendor 3 years from now?
Yeah. So you said you were in retail a little bit, and then in terms of like I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile, and like you used to work as a vendor specialist as Zulili.
Mhm.
And can you tell me a little bit about like if there were any learning curve when you joined, and like how did you actually, overcome those?
Yeah, like starting anything new in your life, right? There's definitely a
Exactly.
learning curve when I first started working at Amazon. Personally, I think that I not only had to learn how to work and communicate like an Amazonian, but also like overcome that imposter syndrome, which I feel like a
Mm.
common theme nowadays with younger people. Being one of a few people that I know of who work in non-tech area that, got job offer at Amazon and sponsored by Amazon, I often like question myself if I'm truly qualified or like, am I just being lucky to be in this role? And I would say relating back to my background, Zulily, it helped me just being familiar with, again, the e-commerce and the retail terminologies, the industry nuances, um, So that helped a little bit, but yeah, the first 6 months was
Yeah.
challenging, just learning how to earn trust within your team and like expanding your influence. Um, yeah,
Got it. Got it. Yeah. When you first join, it's definitely hard, especially like Amazon is a massive company. So what do you like the most and what do you like the least about your role?
that's such a good question. I often get asked by the people I interview for this role. What I like the most, it's definitely the autonomy that
Mm,
this role given me as individual contributor, or even right now, kind of like a
mm,
management, and so much opportunity within the team and the company. Like the leadership, like how much they care about their employees' career development. Our passion, I think that's something that I excited to go to work for, is the people I work with and work for. And what I like the least, I would say maybe it's a common theme, but it is so overwhelming sometimes to navigate. It's
yeah.
such a big company like
Yeah.
Amazon, to try to find the right resources and the right team to help you. That is something that, even though I'm almost 3 years in at Amazon, I still find it hard.
So true. Yeah, it seems like you and I joined around the same time. Like I also joined in 2019 October. So
Mm,
I,
you're
I
right. Yep.
some yeah, I sometimes feel the same way too. So anyway, it's already my last question, but advice for those who want to join Amazon as an
Mhm.
account manager or in the account management space.
Yeah, I think my best advice is to get yourself familiar with the retail and e-commerce industry. And, nowadays with LinkedIn videos, with
Mm,
networking opportunities, or even YouTube, um, these are something that definitely free and available to all of us. And I feel like that is how you're going to set yourself, differentiate yourself from the rest of the candidates.
mhm.
It's also an opportunity for you to learn about whether or not you think you'll be a good fit for this kind of role.
Yeah.
And a lot of people on LinkedIn, including myself, when we do have the bandwidth, and when you message us on LinkedIn, we'd be more than happy to have a quick chat to just like
Yep.
tell you about our experience. And so I think those are the first few things that beginner can take. And if you have specific goal to get a job at Amazon, and I think Young have tons of resources about like interviews at Amazon. And I myself find it useful too, just because it is spoken and shared by people who are still in the role.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
it's very practical, very easy to follow. I think tons of YouTube videos. I myself watch so many when I prepare for my interview. So again,
Yeah,
something that you might not think like big, when you may think, oh my, I have to pay for someone to coach me. No, YouTube is there. Um, Go
exactly.
educate yourself. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Tweet, that was all the questions I had. Thank you so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate it. This was great.
Yeah, of course.